Hello, grade 7 science students. Welcome back. Today is our first lesson of grade 7 science about matter, and the topic is doing scientific investigation. And in this lesson, you are going to describe the components of a scientific investigation. But before that, let's read first the important words and the meanings. We have here the scientific method, then the problem, hypothesis, experiment, data gathering and analysis, conclusions, and communicate the result. Now, in this video, I am giving a sample of a scientific investigation that will be solved, of course, using the scientific method. Okay? Because this topic also can be titled as the scientific method of solving problems. So with that, I have here a situation. I have two kinds of bygone katul or katul. No? I have two kinds of katul A and katul B. In this situation, my problem is that which katul is best or is good to use, no? Which katul will last longer, okay? That's the problem. So that's the first step of solving problems using scientific method. First, you're going to identify the problem. Now, the problem must be, of course, in a form of question. Now, the question is this, which brand of katul will last longer? Is it katul A or katul B? That's the problem. That's your question. So, second step is to solve or no, to answer the question. To give initial answer, or shall we say educated guess or prediction of your answer, no? Of your question. Okay, the answer of your question. That's the step 2. Hypothesis. Hypothesis is simply the prediction or the answer of your question. Then the answer is katul A will last longer than katul B. This is your educated guess, no? Answer to your question in step 1, the problem. Since you have now your partial answer, or shall we say educated guess or answer to your problem, the third step, of course, is to test whether this answer is correct, no? We should prove whether this answer is wrong or correct, whether to accept or reject. And third step will follow, known as the experiment. Okay, experiment is simply the step to prove whether your hypothesis is right or wrong. Now, in conducting experiment, first thing to do is to gather your materials. You have lighter, katul stand, and many more. So I have here my materials: katul stand, and a lighter. And then aside from materials, you need also to identify your variables. Now, there are two kinds of variables. We have independent variable and dependent variable. To understand the two better, I have here a picture. Now, independent variable is said here, variable that is changed. So here we have we have three kinds of flower pots. Now, each pot will receive different amount of water. This pot receives the largest amount of water, while this pot receives the least amount of water, or the smallest amount of water. So the point is, the variable that is changed in this scenario is the amount of water. And of course, independent variable is the variable that is being changed. So the independent variable in this study is the amount of water. Now, what is dependent variable? Dependent variable is simply the effect of the change that happens in the independent variable. So now we have here the three kinds of pots. The middle pot receives the largest amount of water, and the result is the flower is dead. And then the first pot receives enough amount of water and it grows. It is living. So, meaning to say, whatever the amount of water is, there is an effect to the dependent variable, which is, of course, the size of plants, the number of leaves, and living dead. Now, size of plants, number of leaves, and living or dead depends only on the change that happens in the independent variable. Is the result of the change in the independent variable, which is the amount of water. So, independent variable is the change, and the dependent variable is the result of the change. Again, independent variable is the change, while dependent variable is the result of the change. Okay, I hope you understand the two better. So let's go back to our situation. We have here independent variable, the types of katul. I change the katul. So I have two kinds of katol. So I change the types of katol. So this is the independent variable. This is the change. No? I change the kinds, the types of katol. While the dependent variable is the result of the change, whether the length is longer or shorter. Okay, length of the unburned part. Okay, now aside from variables, you need also to make your own procedure of conducting experiment. Your procedure must be fair. So I have here prepare the proper setup of katols using stand and place burning flashes. Then lit both katols and wait for 8 hours. Simply, the picture is this. Then the fact that I lit the two katols together at the same time to be fair, no, just to be fair. Okay. Then aside from procedure, the data, no, you must also consider what will be the data to gather. So in this experiment, I want to measure the length of unburned part and of course the picture of the unburned part. Okay, so now I have here the experiment ready to be done. Okay, so when I am conducting the experiment, I need also to observe and to make good observations about my experiment. So these good observations will eventually the one that is required in step 4, no? Data gathering and analysis. So while you are conducting experiment, you need to observe what is happening in your experiment. You need to observe the data, no? You need to observe the data. So let's go back a little while. So here, lit started. Okay, then after 8 hours, look what happened. It seems like Katol A has still remaining unburned part, while Katol B is almost all burned up. Okay, this is our observation. No, this is our observation. So you need to write your observations in the data gathering step or step 4. No, you need to write your data. So this is the data gathering and analysis. No, you need to write your findings. No, you need to write your findings and observations during your experiment. Okay, again, findings and observations is found in step 4. Okay, so now you have your own data. Next thing to do is to analyze the result, no? Your interpretation. So in step 4, you need to gather your data and of course your analysis or interpretation. What can you say about the data that you have gathered? No, analysis. That's analysis. What you can say. What can you say? Okay. So I have here the length of the unburned part is 3.4 inches for Katol A, while Katol B has only 0.3 inch, almost all burned up. Then look at the picture. The picture tells us that Katol A has still long remaining unburned parts, while Katol B, all is resorted to its residue. No? All is burned up. So based on this data, I can analyze the result that based on the data gathered, Katol A has longer unburned part than Katol B. Again, what is this unburned part? This one. This is the unburned part. Then, this is your analysis. Based on the data gathered, Katol A has longer unburned part than Katol B. Next step is the conclusion. Okay, your conclusion, your final statement about the experiment conducted. Okay, therefore, I conclude that Katol A lasts longer than Katol B, which proves that your hypothesis is correct, right? Your hypothesis is correct. Let's go back to your hypothesis. Okay, this is our hypothesis. Katol A will last longer than Katol B. And this is proven by our conclusion that therefore I conclude that Katol A lasts longer than Katol B. This is how you are going to make your conclusion. Therefore I conclude that Katol A lasts longer than Katol B. So your recommendations, because in step 5 conclusion you can also make your recommendations here. Buying Katol A saves more money because it is long lasting up until 12 hours. Okay, so of course the last step is to communicate the result. Okay, communicate the result. So this is how you portray your result. No, you communicate your result using this portray idea. Okay, you need to write your project title here, then data, testable questions, hypothesis, variables, and all the rest. Okay, I have an example of how you are going to present your research. Okay, this one. This is a sample investigatory project, lemon battery. Then during science fair, this is how she portrayed the investigatory project lemon battery. You can see here the materials used, the purpose, hypothesis, report, procedure, and all the rest. Okay, so just remember that uh, this is not only limited to 6 steps, because other books or other resources will tell us that there could be 7 steps or 8 steps, and others also has only 5 steps. No, it depends on the process, but basically these steps that I discuss here comes in many ways, but all these are all real and can be done in reality based on scientific and investigatory projects. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and if you learned something, please share and subscribe. And just remember that confirming the data of your experiment, of course, of your observation by retesting your experimenting again. So you experiment again and again and again to prove that your result is reliable. And then during science fair projects, present your findings to the people. Independent variable is affected by independent variable. Thank you so much and have a nice day.